Hey truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. In this video, I want to do a very thorough lesson on Gematria, how it works, how it applies, why it is important, and how it will benefit your life. So I've called this presentation Gematria, what your teacher forgot to teach you about the alphabet and alphabetic order. What is Gematria? Gematria, also pronounced Gematria. In Greek, it means geometry. Gematria is an Assyro-Babylonian Greek system of code and numerology later adopted into Jewish culture that assigns numerical value to a word or phrase in the belief that words or phrases with identical numerical values bear some relation to each other or bear some relation to the number itself. And just below that, I have an example of how this looks in English. Notice, the word Jesus equals Joshua equals Muhammad equals cross equals Messiah equals 74, meaning all of those words using the alphabetic order sum to 74. If you're not aware, Joshua is the English translation of Jesus. Muhammad is the spiritual figure much like Jesus in the Quran, two very similar spiritual texts with one distinction. In the Quran, Muhammad does not die on the cross and he is not said to be the Son of God. Other than that, the two religious texts are very much the same. Of course, Jesus is said to have died on the cross at age 33, said that Jesus is the Messiah. This is how the words have relationships and share a numerical value. This is what Gematria is. Gematria is esoteric knowledge, meaning it is intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people. We in the mainstream have never been taught about Gematria, even though it is this very real thing that the language itself is built on, which we will get to. So what you are learning about is something only known by few. But with this work, I intend to change that. This is knowledge that should be known by the many, because this is the knowledge that can empower and change lives for the better. If you've ever seen the movie They Lived, Gematria is a bit like that. In They Lived, the main character, played by Rowdy Piper, finds a pair of glasses, and once he wears them, he can now see things he could not see before. Billboard advertisements now show him words such as obey, conform, consume, instead of the pretty girls with the words to buy whatever product. He now sees the truth behind the message because of these glasses. Understanding Gematria is a lot like the glasses in the movie They Live. So we're going to talk about four main forms. There are other forms of Gematria besides what we talk about in here, but if you understand these, you will have a wealth of knowledge at your fingertips that will be very useful to you. We'll talk about simple English Gematria, Pythagorean English Gematria, Jewish Gematria, and very quickly, I'm not going to go into great detail about Francis Bacon Gematria, but I'll just give you a little piece of knowledge about it. In this form, you use the alphabetic order, which is A to Z. As lowercase letters, they are worth 1 to 26, and uppercase A to Z are worth 27 to 52. This is a very real form of Gematria. I'd teach about it, but it might become overwhelming, so we're going to stick with these four up here. Simple English Gematria is just using the alphabetic order, A through Z, 1 through 26. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z, the 26th letter, is worth 26, just as you see on the screen. This form of Gematria is officially called Simple English Gematria, which not by chance, all the words sum to 74, this very important number in the study. Out of the 50 states in the United States of America, only one sums to 74, the 33rd state, Oregon. Very important numbers. We'll talk more about them. Pythagorean Gematria is also a very important method you want to know. If I had to recommend two methods to know, I would recommend Simple English Gematria and Pythagorean Gematria. The difference in Pythagorean Gematria is you make each letter a single digit. A through I are 1 through 9, but at J it changes. J is the 10th letter, 1 plus 0 becomes 1. K is the 11th letter, 1 plus 1 becomes 2. L is the 12th letter, 1 plus 2 becomes 3. M's the 13th, so on. You make each letter a single digit, then you add. In this form, there are exceptions with 3 letters. K, because it's the 11th letter, does not need to be reduced. K can remain 11, so it can be 2 or 11. V is the 22nd letter, also a multiple of 11. In numerology, multiples of 11 do not need to be reduced. 11, 22, 33, 44. So V can be 4 or 22. And S is special because it's the 19th letter. 1 plus 9 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. It's the only letter you have to reduce twice to get to a single digit. Because of this, it can be 1 or 10. With exceptions, I rarely use the K or V exception, but I use the S exception a lot. Notice that alphabetic order also sums to 74 in Pythagorean gematria, also known as English reduction. It is said that Robert Wilkinson created the alphabet and the alphabetic order. His name, Gematria, is also 74. Very special numbers, which we'll touch more on. English gematria is using the alphabetic order, but multiplying every letter times 6. This isn't a method you will use a lot, but it is a method that has significance. A is 6, B is 12, C is 18. We're counting by multiples of 6. That is English gematria. And Jewish gematria, a very useful form, a form that is used often. Maybe the most difficult one to remember because the letter values do not go in a logical order. So for Jewish gematria, you're going to want to keep the chart. Very helpful. The letters are just as you see on the screen. So gematria, it's largely based in sacred geometry. They very much have a relationship. In sacred geometry, the most important symbol is a symbol we're all familiar with. That symbol is called the vesica piscis, which means in Latin, bladder of a fish. We often see that symbol on the backs of bumper sticker, on the backs of car bumpers, car windows, mailboxes, people's homes. A very important symbol, a spiritual symbol. That symbol is also known as the mandorla. Sacred geometry is used in spiritual art, the construction of spiritual buildings, churches, temples, mosques. Most sacred geometry is a replication of the vesica piscis multiple times, which when replicated and overlapped creates all sorts of special symbols known in sacred geometry. The art below is constructed largely with that single symbol replicated. There is a belief that God created the universe according to a geometric plan. This is a theory that has ancient origins. There is a famous quote that God arithmetizes. Information such as this, I would have once been a major skeptic of. But after doing this research, being aware of this knowledge, working with it on a daily basis, keeping it in my mind, I have come to think and understand that this is very much true from what I have witnessed in my own life and in other people's lives. On the day that I tell you this, I got a surprise phone call from an old friend, a woman. She let me know she had her first child on October 28th. And I asked what the child's name was. She said the boy's name was Callum. And what's interesting about this is the baby was born on a date with 53 numerology, October 28th, 2015. It was giving a name with gematria of 17. 53 is the 17th prime number. So this baby has a name with 17 gematria, born on a day with 53 numerology, and also the mother's name in gematria sums to 35, the reflection of 53. So these numbers between her and her firstborn sync up and are connected to the date. In the time I've been doing this work, I have found connections like that for myself, as well as many other people who've become aware of this work. I myself was born July 21st, 1983, which in history is the coldest recorded temperature. That very date, July 21st, 1983, the record temperature was negative 89 Celsius. My parents weren't aware of this gematria or numerology until I taught it to them recently, and I blew their minds when I showed them the following. My dad's full name sums to 89. My full name sums to 89. My mother's birthday is 8/9, the 8th day of the 9th month, September. All 89s, just like the day I was born on, this record temperature of negative 89. These stories and many more are what have made me think that God truly does arithmetize. So with regards to God, in Gematria, this ancient practice which is much older than the English language, the number 26 is assigned to God. In Hebrew, the spelling for God is as you see it on the screen, YHWH. In Hebrew, that sums to 26, this number assigned to God in Gematria. In English, God is spelled G-O-D, which also sums to 26. In the opening book of the Bible, Genesis, the first of 39 books, Genesis 1:26, then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness." The Bible, the Quran, spiritual texts are very much full of gematria, coded numerology. This is an old world practice, esoteric knowledge. So check this out. The symbol, the Vesica Pisces, that we so often see connected to spirituality and even things that mock spirituality. There is a connection here in numbers and gematria. The symbol, the Vesica Pisces, the mandorla, it represents the age we live in, the age of Pisces, which began around 1 AD and is set to end early in the next century. We're now near at the end of the age of Pisces. But this age we live in has a gematria of 26, just like the word God, this very special number. Also notice that the English alphabet, where God sums to 26, the English alphabet is of 26 letters. So God in Pythagorean gematria and God in simple English gematria, there's something very interesting. In Pythagorean gematria, G is 7, O is the 15th letter, but 1 plus 5 becomes 6, D is the 4th. If you add this together, it sums to 17. If you add God together with simple English gematria, again, it sums to 26. And these two methods will always reduce to the same single digit. 1 plus 7 becomes 8, 2 plus 6 becomes 8. And in numerology, 8 represents God as well, because it's the infinity symbol. God is infinite. Anyhow, if you sum 1 through 17, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all the way up to 17, it totals 153. If you sum 1 through 26, it totals 351, the reflection of 153. The number 153 is connected to fish in the Bible, the miraculous catch. A story about God's power, a story having to do with fish. And here all of these things have this relationship in gematria and numbers as well. Notice that if you write out the word 26 and sum it in Pythagorean gematria, it sums to 42. The word fish in simple English gematria sums to 42. Again, this is the symbol of the Pisces, which has the gematria of 26.